Hello. Just making sure we are going live on all of our channels. So just give me 1 second while we set up the video broadcast and it starts presenting through. Hopefully you can all hear me on some of those, but let me check if you can hear me on the others. We're just refreshing some settings here. Cool. Hopefully that is allowing people to hear what's going on. We're checking some sound settings. Cool. Not a problem. So, first of all, welcome to everyone today. Thank you so much for joining. It's been fantastic to kind of see some of the responses that we had from the first one. This essentially, as a session, is going to be around how do we support people learning about this whole new world of AI. And when it comes to AI and automation, what we're seeing at the moment is this kind of shift from a chatbot interface into something that is much more agentic. So essentially, we're talking about AI agents that are able to work in the background and do tasks. And one of the things that I want to get through being able to show you on these kind of webinars and this kind of thing is not pitching a pitch deck or showing services. I want to be able to show you that this is how everything kind of comes together. Sorry, just checking that we're coming through all right on that one. So yeah, we're seeing the difference between being able to utilize workflows agentically, which means having AI agents work in the background. And I want to show you in this the art of the possible. This isn't about me creating a step-by-step tutorial. This is about showing the way that the world of work is going. Because if you're just utilizing ChatGPT, Anthropic through the chatbot interface, you are stuck in phase 1 of AI. And this starts to look at some of the phase 2. Now, I always want to do this on very practical topics, very practical situations and things that businesses come across every day. Not everything needs to look fantastic, come through these exported products and everything like that, because genuinely you have the capability to be able to do lots of these tasks with AI within your own local browsers without having to go and buy a tech solution to be able to do it. So I've put 3 tasks on today's list for AI agents to be able to build. You can see an interface there, which is going to be our visual interface for our AI agents and the work that they're doing. And essentially, I'm going to get it to do my accounting. So it needs to reconcile all of my receipts from the last 3 months. So it's going to check through my emails. It's then going to give me a list of ones that I don't have so I can go and get them if there's any manual ones. And also it's going to create the emails that I need to forward onto my accountant so it's ready to go. So that's task number 1. Task number 2 is it is going to create a proposal. I've got somebody who's asked for a little bit of insights on being able to build a platform for tracking and monitoring some of their clients to be able to support them and be able to promote the work that they're doing. So we're going to utilize our platform to be able to essentially design that proposal and also research solutions. What solutions might be good for being able to do that? I've given it some suggestions, but it's going to come back with some of its own as well. And another one is we're going to be creating a lead magnet. So this is for my website. This is basically a Claude option that we want it to be able to teach people who don't know how to code, how to use something like Claude in a terminal to be able to kind of get the best from the application as well. That's what I'm using today. We're using Claude Code with the through a terminal interface through VS Code, and we're going to start kind of working on that. So in very art attack fashion, I have already prepared a prompt to be able to work with this and explain exactly what I've just explained to you in order to be able to explain it to the AI. This is one of the whole things when it comes to the age of AI. If you can imagine it, you can create it. And if you can describe it, you can create it. So let's give our terminal a bit of information to be able to get going. And you can see that the prompt's coming up there with what I've asked it to be able to do and how I've asked it to be able to support people. What you're going to see now is our agent is going into this agent has its own machine to be able to work from. So it's not working from the local machine that I'm sitting on at the moment. It's connected to its own machine, its own server, its own brain, where essentially it's able to access lots of applications, lots of different ways of being able to do things without needing to utilize my machine to be able to do it. So this means that tasks can run in the background. A lot of the time we can kind of get things working without having to do lots of information on it to be able to kind of get stuff to come through. Because it has access to all of its own capability. It has access to its own browsers. It has access to its own tools. So it's able to go and do all of that in its own terminal. Also, as I'm going through today, the whole point is I want to be able to make sure that we're answering your AI questions as well. So if you've got questions, comments, thoughts about what's going on, then do put it into the chat, and I'd love to be able to answer people's questions as we come through. So what you can see at the moment is it's starting to kind of work its way through the packaging of the prompt and say, this is what we want it to be able to go and do. And you can see that it's spawning off other AI agents. So this is essentially, we have our orchestrator in the middle, and that orchestrator is creating other AI agents to go and complete a range of different tasks. And that's where it's pinging them off to at the moment. So it's creating this kind of flywheel effect. This is once again one of the joys of being able to utilize AI in a very meaningful way, is we're talking about a team that's kind of basically setting up around completing these tasks. And as you've seen, I've deliberately tried to give it a variety of different roles here to be able to kind of make sure that you can see the capabilities that's there, because we have an accounting role, we have one around social media and lead generation, and we have one around sales and lead generation as well. So not lead generation, sorry, sales and marketing and promotional and client onboarding. So you can see that it's creating a lot of agents to go and complete these different tasks. And all of these agents are then operating certain things in the background to keep things going. And as you can see, it's not taken a lot of work on my part. Yes, I set up the initial prompt, but I'm able to talk to you. I'm able to make sure that I'm able to explain things as we're going through, as all of these AI agents are working in the background. So we can see that it's actually set up 7 different agents to be able to look at being able to do the primary task that it has here. It has one that is fetching all the invoices at the moment. I've given it the information of the document that it needs to read over. So it's reading through the documents. From a lead magnet perspective, what it's doing is it's creating the research for the lead magnet about how can people utilize Claude Code who don't know how to code. So it has a massive research piece that's coming along there as well. We have one that's starting to look at the design of the lead magnet. So essentially being able to look at how it's going to take all of that research and put it into digestible information. We have another one that's looking at positioning, making sure that all of everything that we're putting within our documents is aligned with my brand, the way that I talk about things, the way that we want to be able to position ourselves as an organization. Because a lot of what I'm doing every day is teaching people the human side of AI. Yes, there's the technical side of it, and that's important, but there's also the human-centric side of it. And we would always want that to come through in anything that I'm putting out there. We've got another agent there that is looking through basically for this proposal. Somebody sent me a voice note saying, this is what I'd like to be able to do. This is the kind of information that I want in the proposal. So what we have is one of the agents is using a tool called Whisper, and Whisper essentially allows you to take any piece of audio and be able to digest it into text. And essentially it's taking that audio, turning it into text, and then being able to digest all of that information. We also have it utilizing a social API. So this agent has access via API to both of my Google inboxes. So it's able to look through all the information that we have there as well. And also it's doing research on how can we support with that proposal. So any information that it might need to be able to activate that proposal, what kind of things might be useful for that person. And it's going to put that all into a document for us to be able to kind of look through. So this is where we start to see these agent teams forming. This is what we call a swarm. And this is a bunch of agents working together in a kind of coalition to be able to go and achieve a task. Every time you see a little green glow, the green glows are it being able to utilize instructions on the computer. So it might be utilizing a script, it might be utilizing a tool, and essentially it's gathering information to be able to send back to the main terminals. It might be sending it to the individual agent, or the agent might be sending it back through to our terminal. So we're starting to see a lot of that work starting to come through. I can see from on my ledger, that one of our agents that was doing all of the reading of documents has done it. Our use cases have been picked up. It is starting to come through with all of the information. And what also happens is our orchestrator agent, our agent in the middle here, talks to the other agents. So some of them, it goes, wait a second, you haven't done anything in a while. What's going on here? Let me check in. Have you got information for me to be able to come back? And it might be that that agent's still researching something, or it just hasn't had information to gather back. But that orchestrator agent in the middle is picking up on all of those separate pieces of context and information so it can go and do the task that it needs to do. So this is where we end up with a bit of our swarm channel. Now, one of the things that's really interesting about this is you can imagine if we were talking about those 3 tasks, they might be a day to a half a day's worth of tasks for each one. You know, if anyone's used to having to file away all of their receipts or anything like that, any workplace that you ever had to do an expense report, it is a pain to go and do it. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of energy. And it's all kind of searching through your receipts and your backlog of emails and everything like that and adding things up. Having agents do it is obviously a perfect time saver to be able to kind of make sure that you are still getting through all of the work that you want to be able to do while also being able to kind of focus on the things that are meaningful. You reconciling receipts, that's never going to be the most meaningful part of your day. Nobody comes into work and goes, you know what I really enjoyed today? Looking through every receipt that I've done for the month, which is why it's a perfect task for an AI agent to be able to do. It's not something meaningful to you, and it's something that an AI agent is probably going to be better at doing. What you can see at the moment is it's also opened up a pencil document. So this is an in-agent designer, basically. It works within VS Code. And this designer basically allows the AI agent to design visual things. Think of it like Canva, but instead of it being for human beings, it being for AI agents. And this is what you'll see as it comes through is it's going to start to design things. It's going to start coming up with documentation, all of the information, and this will be for our lead magnet. So it will start coming through with some of that information in a second. I'm going to leave it open rather than switch it back to the agent flow so you can see it as it comes through and in the same kind of speed that we get through things. The other task on there is proposal writing. Once again, getting this proposal writer to do research on the organizations that I'm looking to do this proposal for, looking for the solutions that we might need. All of those things are really useful for us to be able to, you know, get the first draft out of the way. Now, one thing I'd always say whenever you get an AI agent to do anything is you want to make sure that you are still the checker of that. You are the last link in that chain. That is where you bring critical thinking to it. You bring your curiosity to it. You need to make sure that that's correct. One of the things that is very prominent within the world of AI is an answer that sounds right and an answer that is right sounds the same. And that can be a bit problematic. So you always have to make sure that you are bringing what you can bring to that table. So we've got a bit of an update on things that are going through. I'm going to have a look at our AI agents to see which ones are still out there doing tasks and getting stuff done. We can see that we have a list of different prompts and activities that our different AI agents are utilizing right now. And I can see that it's already done the invoice reconciliation. It has given me a list of the few reasons that the couple that it couldn't find, but everything else is put in our draft email folder in order to be able to check it out. So I'll have a look at that in a second. And our lead magnet is just starting work. So hopefully we should be getting some visuals on our lead. Let me just check in with it. Cool. My ability to type and talk at the same time is non-existent, so you're going to have to forgive me on that bit. But yeah, we're just looking at our what we've called our B4 agent, our builder, and what it's looking to be able to do at the moment, and if it's having any troubles being able to bring up a design. Within our other agents, we can still see working in the background. Sometimes you start to see these red error messages as well. That might be where it ran a script and it had something that didn't work in the way that it expected. So we can also see that it's having a bit of a issue with opening pencil. So what I'm going to do is do it a favor and open pencil myself for it. Let's go and open up our pencil file. Great. So that is still working through at the moment. We can see that it just needed a little bit of help opening our pencil folder there. So hopefully that should now be working. And I can see that on our C task, our proposal, that should have just come through. So I'm going to have a look on my documents and I'll share that part of the monitor instead. So give me 1 second. We are going to look at our other share screen here. So this is a platform that I run locally and essentially run all of my business operations through. It sits on my local server. This isn't an out-of-the-box product. This is something that over the last few months, I've been getting my AI to be able to build in order to be able to run my business. And what you can see is that we have or what we should have in a second is if I go to my pages file, we can see that we've just had a new document that's been created. So this should be our proposal. And we can see that we've started to get the problem of what needs to be done, what needs to be solved. So that's something for me to be able to go and review, all researched, ready to go. And this is one of the reasons that I built this tool inside my own application, was essentially this is almost like Google Docs, but working for my AIs that work through the system. Let's go back to sharing our other monitor here with our agents. And we can see that lots of tasks going on there. Let's have a look at what's happening with our designs. That's the only one that we've got left. So we've got 2 tasks that have been completed within the first 15 minutes. We are now looking on our final one. So let's have a look at some of the challenges that it's having. And this, I think, is always useful to have as well. Like I don't mind when I do these streams if that something doesn't go to plan. Like you're going to get errors that are going to come up. Sometimes things don't work the way that you always expect them to. So it's a good thing to be able to kind of work through. So one of the reasons that I can see that it's having a little bit of an error at the moment with our design stuff is because I changed a lot of our what we call SSH keys the other day, which essentially is how one terminal comes into another one. And at the moment we have on the server, we've got a AI agent that is running, but the pencil that it is opening up, the thing that it's trying to drive doesn't sit on the same computer. It's sitting on the one that I'm presenting on at the moment. And that key to be able to kind of connect between the two, that's now disappeared. So we need to make sure that we bring it back and reconnect it so it's able to kind of start working on being able to do that design stuff. Great. And it's now starting to be able to connect it. So hopefully we should get our design coming back through in a minute. And we should start to see some of our agents start to shut down as the work goes through and that they've completed doing the task that we've done. As I said, we've got our invoices reconciled at the moment. So I'll have a quick check on my document C if we've started to get those in our email bit. So I've asked it to go and put all of those in our drafts so we can see if they're ready to go. And I'll quickly share my screen and switch those screens around. So you can see that this is my drafts folder, and all of these emails are the drafts that need to be sent to my invoice, my accounting software. So essentially, it's going to put lots of those emails into my draft folder, ready to be able to go. Let me refresh this. And bring our emails back and go to our drafts. And we can see that we've got this one here that has been created with all of the information that we wanted attached to it. So that is super useful for the work that we've been doing. Those drafts weren't here earlier, so We've got our timings being a bit wrong on it, but our drafts are, we can see all of those audit ones are essentially the receipts that we need to be able to have come through. So they're all ready to go. Let's have a look how we're getting on with our agent designing the lead magnet. Still haven't got it open. Let's see what errors we're coming up with. Cool. So it thinks it recognizes the error, that it was having some problems opening up on the port that we had. So every time it's doing this, when it's trying to connect to from machine to machine, essentially it's creating these codes, these little windows to be able to open up and navigate these software. And this is through MCP protocols. So if you've ever heard MCP, that's what we're talking about here, is the capability of the AIs to utilize their own little tools through its own coding languages. So we can see that we've got in here, it is starting to work on our extension now. And hopefully we'll start to see our designs popping up. You can see that it's opening the tool. That's promising, but we've had that before, so I won't take it as a given at this point. And we'll start to see what we get from a design perspective. So we can just see, just giving it confirmation that it's been able to open it on the computer at the moment. So we can see, hopefully it starts doing some of its design work as it comes through. Even our agents here being able to create other protocols as they go through. I'm going to get it to start closing inactive agents. And we're going to get it to start closing inactive agents. So just giving it some commands, so we can see all these agents at the moment. Not all of them are active, not all of them are completing tasks. So we're trying to get it to basically start closing down some of the processing bits. If they're inactive, they're probably not causing you any issue. They're not doing any damage, but it will be useful to start closing so we can see which ones are still working and see what problems they might be coming up with as well. I'm going to leave that to work through. If anyone's got any questions as we're coming through, if anyone wants to be able to get any further clarification, this is what the whole point of these streams are, is to show you some of the things that we're able to go and do, but also get you to start thinking about what are the things that you might want to utilize it for. If you have any questions, can AI do that? What kind of tasks might be the best things for the workflow? Then put it into the chat so we can kind of work through it. And I can give you a bit of advice on what to be able to do to move these things forward. But we're starting to see that our agents at the moment are a bit inactive. Our protocols are coming through. So I can see at the moment, we've got a lot of tokens going through as it's trying to think through and solve some of the different issues that we're having as it tries to connect to the different servers that we have available. But if anyone has any questions, then I'd love for you to be able to just put them in the chat and we can start working through them. This is also using Opus 4.8. Last week we did it on Fable, and I have to say the brief moment that we had Fable really started to show us the future of AI, because there is a real difference in the quality of what you're getting from an output. Like some things from an Opus point of view, it is nowhere near as capable as what we saw from a Fable point of view. What I can see at the moment is our orchestrator is basically checking on all of our agents as we go through. it's going to be starting to shut some of them down that are inactive. So essentially, it's giving the commands to be able to go and shut down ones that aren't doing what we need it to be able to do anymore. Great. And see if we're starting to get anything on our designs at the moment. Not yet. We've got a question there from Shelley, which is, it'd be great to see some of the best use cases that you've seen. So one of the interesting parts that I would say from an AI perspective is, don't start by thinking about what the tool is, and you don't even have to think about what's the best use case. What I want you to think about is, what do I currently do that takes me a lot of time, that takes me a lot of effort, that takes me a lot of energy, that actually isn't that meaningful to me? If you're in a business, if you're self-employed, if you've got anything that you're doing from your own perspective, what you want to be able to do is go, well, I want to focus my attention on the meaningful aspects of my business. I always think AI handles the menial, so you can handle the meaningful. One of the things, so the best use cases for me is, I would go, you don't have to go and create something amazing. You don't have to do something that you weren't doing before. What were you doing currently that you would be better off being handled by an AI agent to be able to do it? So if it's repetitive, if it involves a lot of text, if you could teach an intern to do it, those are the kind of tasks that I would be outsourcing to AI, with obviously a human in the loop to be able to make it go through. So when you're going through your organization and where it's going to fit in best for the work that you do, start by thinking, what tasks are repetitive in this particular point in time? Which ones need to be done by a human being? Which ones could be done by an AI agent? And also, which ones do you need to get rid of because they weren't of value to begin with? Automating a bad task doesn't make it a good task. It just makes it a bad task, and a hell of a lot faster. So we're ended up in this situation where we want to be able to make sure we are building things in a way that is valuable to us. But use cases wise, it really depends on the person, the organization, and what you want to be able to get from it. It can go everything from very small scale. I built an app on my phone to be able to help me with my recovery. So I've broken my leg at the moment. So I built an app on my phone that essentially helps me monitor all of the things that I'm going through, meal plans, workouts, everything like that, to help me from a recovery perspective. And everything from, I've seen people design things where they have a sensor that's attached to their self, their heart rate, their blood pressure, and also that syncs with their calendar. And it basically looks at who's the people that when they get meeting invites give them the most stress. So you can do it from, a much more from a fun point of view. And then if you're working from a practical point of view, it is the case of, like today, reconciling receipts is not something that I want to spend ages being able to do. So let's go and get an AI agent to do it. You don't have to go and build lots of products and services to make that happen. And if you're a small business as well, like I am, being able to essentially look at all of your subscriptions, and most of the subscriptions that I have, I just recreated them utilizing AI. I built them into my own platform and then stopped the subscription that I had. So we are still getting a few errors coming through from a pencil perspective. So we're not going to have a look at our design bit today, but I'll save that for next time. And we also had it work really well on the last stream. So if you want to be able to go and check that one out, then there's a bit more of a demo from that perspective. But we should start seeing our agents here that are in yellow are our agents that are shutting down. And yeah, we're having a bit of a trouble with our bridge at the moment, but that's not a problem because that's always something to be able to go and explore next time. So we do get some really good design documents that can come from these kind of scripts. I'll show you in once again, very art attack fashion, something that we created earlier. So this is one of the documents that I like to put together for webinars. I'm going to swap my screens over. And let's have a look at this file here. So this was one of our documents that's been created by Agent earlier on in the week. Every couple of weeks, I run this state of the AI report where it goes through all the social content that I've put out, all the information. It does the research on the background of all of those tasks, any information that's on it. And we run it as a fortnightly task. And then I go and do a presentation on it. So I've got a webinar coming up in a couple of weeks. No, next week, so next Tuesday, where we'll go through the state of AI. But essentially, it's going to go through, what's the headline information, what's changed, what shifts are we starting to see, and essentially generate that all within the space of our half an hour session. So it starts to come through with all the information that we need. Once again, a really good use case here is, cool, I need to get a presentation deck out the door. How can I make sure that I'm doing that in a way that works for what I need, and it looks stylized, looks well designed, and that's where pencil comes into it. So we'll have a look at that next time that we come round. But that is all I've got time for on today's session. If anyone's found this useful, if anyone's found it interesting, if you want to learn a little bit more about what we've got up to and how to be able to do this stuff, then do go on to the website, Bykov-Brett.net. We've got a bunch of resources that are there that are free to be able to utilize. And if you're looking at being able to upskill and train in your organization, then reach out as well, because we have a great curriculum, which is 10 workshops on the human-centric side of AI. And it's always looking at how to be able to compare your human skills with the AI skills that you're looking for in order to be able to get the best results. So once again, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for your time. Hope you found this useful and look forward to catching you at the next webinar. Thank you so much. See you soon.